I'll do a quick roll call here. Have myself, Kyla Leonards, Cheryl Hartman, Chet Krauser, Alicia Buchholz, Emmy Bristow, Flana McLarty, Commissioner Vero, Lori Heyer. We have someone with the phone number ending in 4410 to let us know who that is. Tom Tucker, I got it. We have Jack Bernaski, Damon Leishman, Stephanie Lemberg, Marta Brown, MCAT, Sue Holden, and again, Tom Tucker on the other line. We are good on that front, Commissioner Vero.
Okay, and Josh and Dave send their apologies. They're tied up in other engagements, but I think, and I've just lost the agenda, but I think we're supposed to be welcoming Cheryl.
Yes, we added one little thing at the top of the agenda, Commissioner, just any public comment on items not on the agenda. Is anyone out there? Okay, not hearing any, we will move on. So I wanted to introduce Cheryl Hartman. She is the new administrative assistant filling the role previously held by Violet Plummer. And she will help in facilitate these meetings in the future as well. So we just wanted to introduce her and welcome her to our office. So go ahead, Cheryl, if you wanted to say a quick hello.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say hello and jump on and look forward to seeing you all in the meeting and meeting more people and putting faces to names.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Yep, take it away.
You gotta tell folks where you're from, Cheryl.
Oh, okay. Where am I from? Well, I'm originally from Phillipsburg. And then I moved to Missoula, lived in Portland for 25 years, and now I'm back. I've only lived here about 6 months, so good to be back in Montana for the most part, for sure.
We're thrilled to have you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Alicia.
Thanks, Juan. Hey, I'm Alicia Buchholz. I just wanted to say a quick hi to everyone. I'm the new equity coordinator for the county. And you probably worked a little bit or could have worked a little bit with my predecessor, Jamar. So just kind of introduce myself in terms of what I do is I work on the commitment set forth in the JEDI resolution passed back in September, I believe, of 21. And I have, I'm going to be working on hopefully to come out and see all of the city count or the county. Oh, I just lost the whole name, the community council meetings. There we go. Just with no agenda or anything, just really want to understand what each of your communities are facing, what you're doing. So hopefully you'll see me and those as they come along. I probably won't get all of them all in 1 month, but I'll continue working on doing those. And then just the last quick thing I wanted to mention is I am currently working on a little project to engage some of the communities in rural Missoula County, just to really understand the things that you are all facing in your day-to-day and how we can work to understand that in the commissioner's office and with the county and staff. So if you happen to know of any organizations within your community that would be willing to, or groups, small groups, doesn't have to be full organizations, but community groups you might be interested in meeting with us, please let me know. And I'll drop my contact information into the chat. And this is really just more, it's kind of outside of doing political or those kinds of discussions. It's more just like what's happening in your community that we should know about, what changes you might want to see, those kinds of things. So again, I'll put that contact information in, and thanks for giving me just a few minutes of your time.
Thanks, Alicia. And apologies, I think I called you Alicia earlier, and it's something I struggle with, like Kyla and Kayla and Kylie. Okay, next we have the annual report from LACI, or Lands and Communities, with Lori Heyer.
Yeah, thank you, Juanita. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'm here tonight to talk about our 2022 annual report for Lands and Communities, the office formerly known as CAPS, Community and Planning Services. So I will share my screen and I'll quickly go over the annual report. It did go out in an e-newsletter blast. Well, not an e-newsletter blast, but the list we use for our previous e-newsletters. So some of you may have already had a chance to see it and look through it, and I'm just going to kind of go through and walk you through what we've done this year. So I've got this story map pulled up. I hope everyone can see it. I'm taking that as a yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Um, so we kind of started with a little bit of a blurb of our the transition, the reorganization that we went through recently to become Lands and Communities. And that includes the bringing on ecology and extension in the fairgrounds. So there's some two new sections in the annual report. So I'll start with the new department that is Planning, Development, and Sustainability. And Karen Hughes is now the director. And she put together a very thought out explanation of what the department does and their mission and goals. So I can have everyone sort of have a chance to look through at your leisure a lot more of the details. So this is kind of what they're doing. I mean, it's the same, just making sure that Missoula County is served both in public health and safety and equity. So to go into the planning program, which includes both the long range planning, which does all of the plans. They work on like the zoning regulations, things like that. So the first slide or the first part of the story is the adoption of the major zoning reform project. So some of the long range accomplishments, and it's just for those of you who aren't aware, and we can get more information out if you're curious or want to learn more or weren't part of the conversations as this was going on. So there are certain parts outside of the city limits, but close, it's the urban fringe, as they call it, that didn't really have much zoning. And to help encourage smart growth and development, this was one of the first steps to do that. So very significant land use decision in Missoula County, as Juanita is quoted in the story map. Most significant land use decision in Missoula County in 50 years. So quite a bit of updates. We're still working through it in the planning office and trying to explain what it means, what the changes are, what the benefits are, things like that. So the next part of it is the updates to the flood insurance rate maps for the Clark Fork River, Bitterroot River, Rock Creek, and Rock Creek tributaries. So this has been an ongoing process. Some of you who may be affected by these updates probably already are well aware of what this means and what's happening as far as your insurance goes. For more information, though, feel free to reach out to our office, the floodplain administrator, because they can help kind of walk you through what this means and how this all comes about. And it's done on a fairly regular basis. Excuse me. And then the next is we're going to look at the why a little bit and sort of the growth that has occurred along the why. And this is a pretty cool visual representation of that growth. So I believe the black and white photo was taken in the 1950s, and the color photo was taken, I believe, in maybe right before 2020. So, and it lines up really nicely, so you can just see how much has changed over the last 70 years. So that's kind of a really interesting tool to take a look at. And then moving on at the growth, at the why, just kind of more in depth of the types of growth that's happening out there right now. So the Riverside Industrial Subdivision, which is continuing. Well, I'm not going to read this to everybody, just for time's sake. But this is directly affected by the new zoning regulations. And then our by the number section, so you can kind of see the increase of the major and minor subdivisions from 2021 to 2022, which is pretty, which shows the amount of work and growth that's occurring outside of Missoula city limits. And then, so one of our land use planners and someone from the clerk and recorder's office have been working for the last couple of years on developing this dashboard tool to be able to look at land use and zoning project data. And I'm hoping that if I switch over, that everyone will be able to see this dashboard. It might take, hopefully it'll load. It doesn't like running off of Teams, I don't think. Okay,
There.
it's trying. And you can see it slowly
Getting
making
there.
its,
Yep.
there it goes. Okay, so this is a really comprehensive dashboard that is pretty close to real time, I believe. For more, if you have questions about it or want more information about it, feel free to reach out to our office. And it looks like they've included this map Missoula at missoulacounty.us for questions and comments, inquiries, things like that. So I don't need to go through all of this because there's quite a bit, and I don't think that my internet would like to try to load everything in real time. But I hope everyone can get kind of an idea of what this all can show and provide information on. So moving ahead, they're going to continue working on this dashboard. Code maintenance updates for both the subdivision regulations and the zoning code. As you saw before, the Y infrastructure plan. They're going to start an update of the county growth policy, which is required every 5 years. And of course, we're tracking the legislative session like many others. And then there will be a new county permitting system that should be better to provide real-time information for people who have applied for permits, so they don't have to necessarily call the office in any of the offices to see where their permit is. And then moving on to climate action. So some of you may already know this, but Missoula County's been working with the cities of Bozeman and Missoula to increase access to renewable energy. And that has kept on track and has been pretty successful. And then Missoula County's been working with Climate Ready Missoula to expand wildfire, smoke, and extreme heat awareness. And in fact, was nationally recognized for the work in the community around wildfire smoke preparedness by the recognition came from the Sierra Club. So that was a pretty exciting kind of feather in the cap for the program. And with the new, there's a new staff person in the climate action team who's been working on doing the emissions inventory to help Missoula County as a government get to 100% clean electricity. So looking at everything from our fleet of vehicles to our facilities to employee activities with their commutes, just to see how many emissions the county itself is generating, then to be able to hopefully in the future look at upgrades to county systems and processes, but then also see where that can sort of lend itself to the community at large. And so looking ahead for the climate action department or division, just continue working with the federal funding that can help accelerate the Electrify Missoula campaign. And just to kind of be in step with the climate or the emissions inventory. So next is the parks, trails, and open lands. And so one of the park staff put together a story map within the story map of the projects around Missoula County that the parks program was successful in implementing or providing funding for. And so this map, it will take a minute, but it will show the Missoula County, and the dots represent the projects that happened across the county. So just to quickly look at the Big Sky parking lot project, which is just the being able to provide paved parking at Big Sky Park. And so it's the map is pretty cool. You can just click on any of these and you can see, you know, between the open space part of the program to the trails part of the program, just the work that the fairly small but growing staff has been able to do over the course of the year. And I will get out of that. And then, so the Parks and Trails Open Lands embarked on to be able to get a plan for pathways and trails. They adopted the master plan, and so it's just being able to work on the rural and urban portions of the county. Their newest part of the program was creation of the maintenance and stewardship. And so they hired a maintenance stewardship person to be able to be more proactive in all of the different parks around Missoula County, to work with the volunteers who have been doing so much really great work in keeping the parks taken care of, but just really needed to have more support to be able to support those that have been working with the parks. And then you can see by the numbers, just and I don't have it would from last year's report, which I can put both reports in. I think that they have similar numbers. But the newest thing that has happened over the last year was opening up the West Riverside Barn for public events. So that has been a really successful change in the program. And this is the parks team. So they're just continuing to grow and advance their work that they've been doing in the county parks and trails as well. Grants and community programs. I know that some of you have probably are aware of the rural grant program that they recently launched. But to start with, the EPA brownfields, which include the Mullen Trinity Housing Project, Missoula Water, the Rogers Street Complex, and they were able to secure additional brownfields funding. So some of you may have already had Cindy Kennedy from the office come out and talk about brownfields in your communities. So just probably already know quite a bit about that from Cindy's presentations. The Poverello Veterans Housing Project was purchased. So the Poverello Center purchased the Clark Fork Inn to transition into 20 apartments for unhoused veterans. So in $600,000 in community block grant funding was used to be able to do that. And then the Heart Grant, which is $567,253, was secured to support positions in the detention facility that help stabilize justice-involved individuals with mental health needs. And then our housing action plan, Breaking Ground. This was adopted as a growth policy issue plan. So the series of goals set forth in the plan is to increase housing production, support for affordable housing, build implementation capacity with city and housing partners. And then by the numbers, there's quite a bit in here that you can kind of take a look at. And as I had mentioned earlier, most of you are probably aware by now of the Rural Grant Program, which so far has been very successful. I don't know the numbers of how many people have applied for the two different parts of the Rural Grant Program, but I think it'll just keep going and it'll continue to be a success. And then the Housing Innovation Fund, which I'm not as familiar with. So any questions would be directed to the Grants and Community Programs division. And then our new addition is Ecology and Extension. So obviously the Montana Biocontrol Project research updates. And then the Master Gardeners and Horticulture Program. So the classes were offered in Missoula, Florence, Arlee, and Condon. They worked with the Tribal Health Office to prepare employees to better understand vegetable gardening, grow food locally to support neighbors and community members, and integrate fresh foods. And 22 of the participants had garden beds in their homes after this. And then looking forward to the future, the Flowering Pollinator Lawn Program. So any interest in this program or any of the programs that the Ecology and Extension Office has going, you can contact our office and we can get you in touch with the appropriate people to visit with. And finally, the fairgrounds. So as the headline here says, Western Montana Fair attendance tops 100,000, breaking the record from 2021. And that's that.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you. So if anyone has any questions or comments, I can share the link to the story map in the chat. And of course, any follow-up, please contact our office. I'm not the subject matter expert in any of these divisions, so I'd be happy to just pass along your email or phone call to the appropriate staff person that can follow up with you.
Great. Okay, next, I can't tell. Do we have Nick Holloway on?
No, Nick and Adrian and OEM actually had a conflict, so I'm just going to give a brief update of what they were going to talk about, and then if possible, we might have them for May.
Great.
So let me read the information that was given to me. The Missoula County Office of Emergency Management is updating our pre-disaster mitigation plan. This process typically takes about 8 to 9 months and involves in public engagement and participation. The plan is updated every 5 years, and the draft plan must be approved by FEMA before the final plan is adopted locally. As part to the public process, our office is interested in attending different community council meetings, which I know Nick has reached out to several community council meetings. but I also wanted to I'll drop this in the chat and I'll put this in the follow-up email, but there's more information and deadlines and information on the voice page. And it looks like Emmy has already dropped that in the chat for me. So any other information that you guys have, you can do that and reach out to Nick Holloway or Adrian back in OEM. That's all that I had for that one.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, okay. Emily Brock, I saw her on earlier, so we have another presentation, not a little presentation, a big presentation. This is pretty exciting. It's a lot of work. Our lands assessment. Oops, I think you're muted on, at least you seem to be on my end.
Okay, I'm just going to share my slideshow. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for having me here. This project, I'm apologies in advance to those of you who've seen this before. I know there's a few of you on the call, but I am gonna kind of hit the big stuff again for you. So this project actually isn't new. We've been kicking it around the county for quite a few years. Missoula County has been acquiring and developing and disposing of land to serve residents for over 150 years since it was created. And so the county commissioners recently created the Department of Land and Economic Development. And all right, I gotta pull up. So here is Flana and I. It's a small department, but our mission is to, we call it LED. Our mission is to implement strategic initiatives that enhance community vitality associated with economic growth, as well as guide land development and redevelopment efforts for county properties. And so the project that we're here today to talk about is the Land Inventory Assessment and Strategic Plan. This project, like I said, has been kicking around for a while in county government, but there's really two things that kind of spurred it into action recently. One was the housing crisis that was exacerbated by the pandemic. And the commissioners were really united in leveraging county-owned land to increase housing supply, like they had with the Trinity project, which is on the picture in your screen. The formal call to action was in the Housing Action Plan that called for developing a strategic framework for acquiring and or using county land for affordable housing development. The other impetus was we finally had the capacity in the county to tackle a project like this when we created the new department. So the commissioners wanted a really broad approach with the project, and they merged the housing plan call to action with several other county initiatives. And so we backed off it just being about affordable housing and assigned the LED department to conduct a holistic inventory and assessment of every county property, with the goal of like more thoughtful and transparent decision making and ultimately more civil community discussion around how land development relates to our shared values, with avoiding as much misinformation and fragmented debate as possible. Obviously, this project has a lot of challenges. It attempts, any project that has to weigh competing values will. All of these values are super important and dear to residents. So, you can imagine growth management and housing affordability, climate resiliency, historic pres, recreation, conservation, good governance. These are all really important values that our community has stated and planned for time and again in our community plans that are important to our well-being. So we really wanted to apply uniform analysis to the usefulness of land that really balances these ideals, but it'll look differently for each resident depending on the lens they're looking through from their own, personal experience. So we are charged with a variety of specific responsibilities. That's just to say Montana counties are charged with a variety of specific responsibilities throughout statute. And these tie back to kind of the values I mentioned a minute ago. But like in statute, some of the things that you can find scattered throughout are protecting community health, they're planning orderly development, encouraging housing access, enhancing culture, creating recreational opportunities, promoting prosperity. And so these responsibilities are actually to be accomplished essentially through 4 general powers bestowed upon county governments. Those 4 powers being sue and be sued, make contracts, levy and collect taxes, and purchase, hold, and dispose of land and property. And so you can see that this is exactly the kind of important but difficult balancing act the county is assigned to do in both our Constitution and in state statute. So being a finite resource, obviously that land being a finite resource, especially scarce in Missoula because of our constrained geography, competition for the most important value and then the subsequent use that relates to that value can be fierce and emotions run high. And so the Larchmont proposal, trust is obviously really, really important in this. And the Larchmont proposal was a really good early reminder of kind of the triggering nature of the task at hand and how important methodology is for trust. And so just for those who don't know, in November 2021, a private developer approached the county to propose a large land trade in exchange for the 152-acre Larchmont golf course. The county would obtain 157 acres of land that the developer owned off Highway 93 south of Missoula. And so residents felt really strongly on both sides of that debate. And the truth is, you know, based on what I mentioned above, they were all correct in feeling how they did. They absolutely were all right. These values are not mutually exclusive. They can all be true. So the commission ultimately shelved the proposal and directed staff to proceed with the land assessment that was already occurring on the county properties to kind of holistically determine if there's an opportunity to use them for more public benefit. And so I'm going to go through our process a little bit here. So we are in phase 1. We collected factors on over 260 county-owned properties from a variety of sources to assess the suitability for new use or new management, really striving to be as objective as possible, and really looking at the previous engagement and planning efforts that articulated these community values. So we worked with the GIS department to create this mapping tool that displays all the properties holistically and concisely. And then we drafted a report that goes with it that kind of explains our process and what factors we looked at, how they were assessed, and then there's a glossary and what to look for next steps. So here's kind of a map of where we are. You can see we are just doing engagement on phase 1 right now. And so I'll talk about how folks can participate and be heard a little bit later in a few minutes. But we want to make sure that this tool works and that it is useful before we start engaging on the recommendations. So we looked at, like I said, a variety of factors. You know, sources were like the GIS and cadastral and City of Missoula neighborhood and utility maps and FEMA floodplain and plans like the Parks and Trails Master Plan and National Register of Historic Places. And we interviewed county department level staff. And so in reviewing these factors, it became clear that there are 6 primary areas that when taken all together, they really encompass all the factors that are relevant at this time. And so to paint a full picture of what a property's value is in a concise and digestible format that reflects community values, we took those 6 primary areas that emerged, which were topographic, built environment, administrative, conservation, recreation, and cultural. And we assessed them each with a value. And so the values that we assess, and by values, I'm not meaning moral value, I'm meaning like value like 0, 1, 2, or 3. 0 would be like the least restrictive to new use, and 3 being the most restrictive to new use. So in other words, like 3s reflect a really high value for a particular area, while 0s indicate no value. If a parcel is assigned a 3 in an area, it's unlikely to be recommended for new use unless that value changes, which of course they can, because factors on the ground change, like floodplains change, topography changes and stuff like that. And so likewise, if a parcel receives 0s or 1s across most areas, it's a good candidate to be recommended for new use. Although that new use is not necessarily development. And so parcels of 1s and 2s really needed and received the most attention and discernment. And we definitely anticipate those getting the most feedback and like robust community discussion as the project moves forward. So if you look at the slide, on the left side are the more sort of precise and objective pieces, and as you move right, they become a little bit more subjective. And the assessments are not final at all. They'll never be final. We will update the tool regularly on a schedule. But right now we are looking not only for the community to help us make adjustments on the tool itself, but also on the values. And I'll talk about that here in 1 second of what we're really looking for feedback. This is just a slide of the tool. I will go to it in a second. This is what it looks like. And I'll take you to the actual space. So here is what we are looking for. So like I said, we wanted to make sure the foundation was really solid before we explored recommendations. And we're soliciting feedback on the inventory and the assessment and the narrative now, and we'll make those updates. We're going to hold this comment period open till the end of June. And then once the tool is established, we'll utilize it to create strategic policy and land use recommendations for commissioner approval and staff implementation. We will do a gut check. We'll write the recommendations and we'll publish them in the late fall of 2023, but we will definitely do more engagement then. So like, what are we looking for recommendations for phase 2? So I don't want to get into the recommendations themselves because we haven't got that far. We've really been focused on the tool, but some of the questions that we're trying to tackle are how are individual county properties used? Does public ownership make sense? Does private ownership make more sense? Is there county land that could be used differently? How so? Is the county the proper owner and steward of neighborhood parks and stormwater facilities inside the city? Does the county use appropriate methodology to acquire and divest of property? Should we be trading property? Are we accurately describing properties on legal documents? Are we taking care of the land we own equitably? If not, how can we grow and learn from that? How can we replicate our success in land banking? And so I guess it's just one thing I wanted to just sort of flag here for folks is that it's really important to note that the land inventory and assessment project was assigned to the Department of Lands and Economic Development. It is intended to be holistic and review every property that the commissioners have authority over through our department's lens, which is development. But we don't manage these parcels. And so we collaborated with outside departments that manage these parcels to do these valuations, particularly parks and trails and open lands and public works. But when we come to the recommendations, the staff and the board that advise and manage those properties have to vet these recommendations. So we're not, this isn't like a just one department sort of saying what's another department is going to be doing with land that they manage. And so right now it's really all about feedback. We are the current step is to publish the tool with the inventory factors and the applied assessment. and the narrative and solicit feedback from the community. So some of the questions that we're hoping folks can answer is like, does the narrative explain the project clearly? Do you agree that these 6 areas really paint a picture, full picture in a concise and simple format? If not, how can we improve the tool? Do you agree with the individual parcel recommendations and valuations? Or sorry, valuations. Is the tool easy to navigate? Is it self-explanatory? And then what additional questions, which are on page 7 of the narrative, that I described a few minutes ago, should be addressed in phase 2. And so everything is on Missoula County Voice, which I'm going to pull up here. And I'm going to navigate to the tool itself. We do want to collect feedback from Missoula County Voice. If I sound a little bit incoherent, it's because I'm not feeling very well today.
You're doing great.
Thanks. Thanks, Juanita. I gotta navigate to, so I'm gonna take you guys to, I'm at home, so I only have one screen. So I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm used to having like 3 screens. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you should have Missoula County Voice in front of you. This is, I will back out so you can see. If you go to MissoulaCountyVoice.com, there will be several projects on the homepage. The land inventory and strategic recommendations are one of them. So this is what that looks like when you pull it up. Definitely recommend doing this project from your computer, not your phone, because the tool does not work great on phones. So I'm going to click here on the learn more for the Missoula County Lands Inventory and Strategic Plan. And this page gives a synopsis of the project, which is really similar to what I just went through with you. And there's links to all the pieces. So in the under documents, here's the project narrative. Flana's going to drop it in the chat for us so that we really hope that folks read the narrative before jumping into the tool. I know that can be a lot to ask, but there is a frequently asked questions page 2. And one of the questions, at the end, there's that piece about Larchmont and just sort of like the basic question of, will, this land next to my house be developed? And I touched on those things in the presentation, so I won't rehash them, but I did want to make sure folks go here. And then if you want to engage with us, you can either email us directly, you can subscribe to the project, or you can go to the comments section and leave comments. So I'm going to go to the tool now. There's also a 1-pager if you wanted to just get the cheat sheet on the narrative, even though I would rather you read the narrative. That's under the documents too. So there's lots of hyperlinks in here. Flana just dropped the narrative in. I'm going to click here to go to the inventory. So this is the map itself. There is a disclaimer. This is, fluid and not meant to be legal advice. It's a tool. It's not, the Holy Grail. And so how this works is all of the parcels. So the county owns 265 parcels. These numbers will get updated and change on a schedule. And there's a glossary of terms here too. So you can see here's the 6 areas: topographic, built environment, administrative, conservation, recreation, and cultural. And here is a glossary of terms of really specific what went into each one of those scores. With the more, obviously, as I said, the farther you get to the right, the more subjective some of these pieces are. The recreation and conservation assessment was done by the Parks, Trails, and Open Lands Department. So if you wanted to see, for example, what was the really highly valued cultural pieces owned by the county, you would click here on 3 for cultural, and you'll see that 8 parcels put up. This is based on the definition here for cultural. So this, again, this is the 3. So this is just like, they have its historic significance, they promote the arts, education, heritage, or human connection. And this is important, is that the property itself would lose its cultural value if it were relocated. So an example of one that is, that has a high cultural value, but isn't a 3, would be like our library, because we know that can be relocated because we just recently relocated it. That doesn't mean that it's not, it'll be really, really hard to relocate it, but it is possible. The cultural piece isn't tied to the land itself. And then recreation. So I'll go back here. Sorry if I have kids behind me. So high value recreation, you can see right here kind of in the center. I think that's Larchmont. Yeah. So Larchmont has a 3 for recreation, a 2 for cultural, a 2 for conservation, 2 for administration, and a 1 for built environment, a 0 for topographical challenges to redeveloping it. So sort of like the low hanging fruit, like what has no value whatsoever to the county. I should also say this tool is not an or, it's an and. So the more that you click, the more filters that you put on it, the less parcels will be available to be developed. So you can see here's all of the parcels that are totally low hanging fruit and completely easy to develop. Nobody will get mad about whatsoever. There are none. Not surprising. But when you add in the ones which are low value, there are some more that might warrant discussion. That said, there could be parcels here that have a low value for recreation, that the recommendation might be to hold on to them and land bank them because the area is underserved with parks. And so a recommendation might be to invest in that park, even though it has a low value for recreation now, because the area has a low value, is underserved for parks. And so the recommendation would be to, do more, invest more in it. So it's a tool. It's not, there is no, we're not going to just run a filter and have everything solved. But it's a tool. It helps us have conversations within the county. It helps folks know how we're viewing the land near them. It goes hand in hand with the plans that are relevant. So I guess I'll just do a pause there and see if there's any questions about how to engage or questions about the tool or anything.
Stephanie.
So while you were speaking, I went and looked at East Missoula, and of course, we've got 2 parks and a right of way, and they're all low cultural and great for building on, So I'm concerned that this becomes an easy way to just look for more buildable land, which, East Missoula, we're using every scrap we've got.
Okay, so I would definitely encourage you to engage on the Missoula Voices page and give that feedback. I can't speak. It's a legitimate concern. I think that that's why we're putting this out there now, is to, flag things. I don't know which parcels you're speaking to directly, but we can follow up offline and answer questions about those.
Well, it's
yeah,
the
like I
Lions
said,
Park and Canyon View, but yeah, I will definitely look into this more because
Okay. Great.
we're losing everything in East Missoula.
Mhm.
So,
And
okay.
I think, yeah, I don't know if Emily, if you want to remind folks again that this is a tool for discussion. It's not like we're not using this as a policy tool in the sense of like, it got this on a matrix and therefore our decision will be such. I mean, it's
Yeah, no, it's not prescriptive, it's descriptive. And I would just also add that East Missoula Lions Park does have a 3 for recreational value. And so it would not be something that was, if it has a really high value to the county, it doesn't need to check a high value in more than one area. One is plenty of reason to preserve it.
Okay. Thank you.
any other questions? Oh, I just lost you guys. Okay, we hope everyone gets on and plays with it. And then make sure to write your comments, suggestions, criticisms, all the things on Missoula County Voice. It'll be important for us to get that feedback. Okay. Thanks, Emily. Oh my gosh, you were the last one. Okay. Yeah, Kyla, do you want to take
Sure,
us down
yeah.
yeah, thanks.
We will go through just quick updates for any council members who are on. I'm going to go backwards tonight, so I'm going to start at the end of the alphabet. So for West Valley, I think Damon hopped off, but Tom Tucker, do you have anything?
Can you hear me there?
We can hear you.
Okay. We had a request in for a county commissioner to come out to our meeting. I don't know if it's in May or June, but so that's kind of on the agenda. And our last meeting was on the 13th of this month at the fire hall in Frenchtown. And I want to thank those folks that participated in that $500 grant, because it allowed us to buy some replacement equipment for the seniors luncheon. And that was very helpful. We had some aging equipment in there. Also at our meeting, we had Brownfield representatives come out and give us a talk, and we also invited them to come out to the seniors luncheon, which was the following Wednesday after our board meeting. And we had Adrian Beck there also from talking about some of the stuff that was going on in the disaster area, covering fires and flooding. So all in all, I guess everything went well. We don't have any concerns as of yet. They talked about doing some resurfacing on the 6 Mile Road from the end of Frontage Road up to the end of the asphalt there. They were supposed to replace that stuff. So I believe that's still ongoing. Other than that, we were also told that if we got any potholes to call it in. And so I imagine the folks are taking care of that. Other than that, our next meeting will be second Thursday of next month at the fire hall. It's the second Thursday, by the way. So with that, I'll turn the time over back to you folks.
Thanks so much, Tom. Yeah, I think Kyla, you're in control of our schedules here. Are we up there in
Yeah,
June?
I've been in touch with a few of the folks at West Valley, and I can continue to connect to get that scheduled for you.
Great. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And Tom, when is your seniors luncheon?
Well, it's the first Wednesday of the month, and the third Wednesday of the month, and it's at the French on Fire Hall. And we had an excellent turnout last Wednesday. So, yeah, we always provide a good lunch, and we have speakers come out. The Brownfield folks came out and talked about some of their projects that they've got going on, and anybody that's interested in having them come out to analyze property that they may own or have suggestions. So we always try to get a speaker to come out, and I think there's also a request for a commissioner to come out next month to talk at one of the luncheons. So we'll coordinate that when that happens.
Great. Thank you.
10-4.
Okay, we'll see ya.
Thanks, Tom. I didn't see anyone on from Swan Valley, but did someone else join? Anyone here with the Swan? Okay, doesn't sound like it. Looks like Tom Browder did join us from Sealy Lake. Tom, do you have any updates?
Oh, you know me, I always have updates. No, just a couple things. We are waiting eagerly for the final budget bill to come out of the legislature to see if Fish, Wildlife and Parks gets the money to fix our Clearwater RV station, which of course the commissioners were a big help in helping to publicize that. The other thing we have going on now is the proposal to have a gravel pit at Elbow Lake, which is about 3 miles north of Clearwater Junction. And again, at our last council meeting, we invited the Elbow Lake folks. They wanted a forum, and they're technically out of our council area, but you know, they made a good case, and they've been working with DEQ and DNRC about their concerns over having a gravel pit right there next to game range. So again, we did a letter, and the commissioners, Chet Krauser was a big help, and it was appended to what the commissioners did. Again, I'm mostly asking, hey, can we have some more time and not kind of get into a Holland Lake thing? So those are the big things going on. At our May meeting, we will probably have Elbow Lake on the agenda and may have Holland Lake back on as well. A lot of excitement. And Commissioner Slotnick will be up for our June meeting. So that's Sealy Lake.
And the commissioners and a chunk of staff will also be at the Swan Community Council meeting in May. Are we scheduled for that? Kyla, I
Yes,
guess what?
yes.
Oh, great. What I'm getting at is you can invite us, and the crew will come around to wherever in the county. Or if folks in Sealy want to come up to that meeting, it could be a good one.
Well, we'll watch. We might do that. We have participated with them a little bit since they've gotten started up again. So that's good.
Yeah,
And the weather's nice, and yeah, be a good time to come up.
exactly. Oh, and Tom, I guess, have you been in touch with Alicia? With her outreach, I think you have something that happens in Sealy Lake, and I don't know if it's with the community council. There's a, what's it's kind of it's a tell us something version or a moth version, but it's in Sealy Lake of storytelling, community storytelling and community building. Do you know anything
So-
about that?
Indeed, I do. We have every few months storytelling event at the foundation. We had one back in about 2 weeks ago. We've created a YouTube channel now, so we're going to upload all of these storytelling presentations to that channel. Yeah, so that's, and Condon's interested in doing the same thing, so we're going to share how we do it. We've been live streaming them on Facebook, and then we take that file and put it in YouTube. But it's great, you know, it brings people out that, you know, maybe not get involved in other parts of the community. And we get.
No, I think it's Fantastic idea. I didn't know that you had a YouTube, so I'll check it out, or we all can go check that out. Thank you.
Well, so that's new. We just got that going. So maybe in our May call like this, if we've got all of them uploaded, when I do an update, I'll just share that link in the chat.
That'd be great.
And Kyla, I'll send it to you if it's before then, just so you can share it.
That'd be great. Thanks, Tom. We have two new members of the Lolo Community Council on, Marta Brown and Anders Nord. I don't know if you guys would just like to hop on and say a quick hello. I know you just barely started with the council.
Hi, this is Marta Brown. I'm super excited to be honored to be on the local community council. I'm really excited to get to know more of my community, the members and the terrain, and I'm just super stoked to be here. Thank you so much.
We're also stoked you're here. Thanks, Marta.
And I'm Anders Nord, part of the Lolo Community Council as well, and excited to onboard and help out the community however I can.
Fantastic. It's wonderful. We haven't had Lolo on in a while, so this is really great to have both of you. Thank you so much for making the time to join tonight.
Yes, thank you and welcome. So we'll go up to East Missoula. I saw Sue Holden and then Stephanie, if they're still on, if you have any updates or anything you'd like to mention.
Hello, this is Sue. We had our April meeting on the 11th, and it was a very full agenda. Commissioner Slotnick was here and gave a presentation on the property taxes and how all of that works, which was very, very informational, and we were glad to have him. We also had Sydney and Michael Kelly on the Grants and Community Program give a presentation on the brownfields, and that also was very informational. And because the concern with getting Mount Jumbo School up and going again, you know, for the elementary or middle school, depending on our population as it's ever increasing out here, we will be sending a letter to the district, Missoula County Public School District, supporting the Brownfields Assessment Program on Mount Jumbo School. The East Missoula Sewer Board, we've been working on a rebate for our residents out here that have participated when we implemented the sewer board, and that will be coming to a close. Our final bond payment will be made in July. And so because we have been so fiscally responsible, there's a potential of a rebate going out to all of the residents that have been with the sewer bond. So that's still ongoing. East Missoula United, I can let Stephanie speak to that matter. One of our hot topic items that I'll be reaching out to the commissioners and the crew, as Commissioner Verrill calls it, in regards to the Summers development. It's a very contentious development that's going on out here, and they meaning 406 Engineering is going to be having a public meeting on the 5th of May, which is a Friday, at 6:30 at Mount Jumbo School. And so we're just trying to get as many people in attendance to that as well to speak of their opinions about it. I mean, we don't know what any plans look like. I mean, there's still so much involved in it that the biggest issue, of course, has to do with the annexation into the city, which East Missoula is struggling with because of what it's going to do to East Missoula if that happens. So that's kind of an ongoing event. And we're always working on that. So at this point, Commissioner Vero and Kyla, I'll be reaching out to all of you in regards to hoping we can get some Missoula County representation at that public meeting, because there wasn't any Missoula County invited to this public meeting, and it impacts East Missoula a lot. And so we are just hoping to get some Missoula County representation out here, and it not just be the city. So look forward to that. And I'll let Stephanie take over and speak on the East Missoula United project that we just had last weekend.
Yeah, so we were also the beneficiaries of one of the micro grants, the Rural County Rural Grant Program. We got the $500 for our garbage day, which happened last Saturday, and it was unbelievably successful. It's our third one in a row. We get the big ticket item this year for some reason was barbecues, but we get a lot of mattresses and couches, and it just really helps keeping that stuff out of the alleys. I think it's been noticeable. We do not have the couches and the mattresses and the old refrigerators in the alleys like we used to have. So we have tons of pictures on our Facebook page, and then also I think the grant writers requested pictures as well. So I think Erica provided those. But I did also want to say both of the pages that you guys put out, the land available lands, that's an amazing website. I'm impressed. And then also the first one that Lori showed, both of them were impressive. So good job. Sue talked about Summers, but we also have the giant fence around the Ollie's parking lot now, which I'm hopeful that maybe one of these will show us. When she was talking about permitting and permitting processes, if it shows permits that have been applied for, because as of right now, nobody really knows what's going to happen in the Ollie's parking lot, except for a big fence. So, thank you.
Thank you. Jane and Rick from Bonner Milltown.
I guess
Hi,
I'll go
this
first.
is Jane.
Oh, go ahead, Jane.
And I'm brand new and just want to say hi.
And I'm Rick, and I'm definitely not brand new. And I can tell you about our last meeting. And I wanted to welcome the new members from Lolo, and our new member Jane Kipp is here. And we've also have added Karen James to our community council. So we are full except for a alternate. So if anyone's interested, let us know. We had a hybrid meeting at the Bonner School. It went off successfully, surprisingly. Everything worked. We were kind enough to greet the new members with our longest ever meeting that lasted almost till 9 p.m., a little past 9 p.m., because we had a lot of presentations. We had a brownfield presentation. We had an MDOT presentation. We had the West Riverside Neighborhood Community Engagement Project presentation, which we're happy to report that there are 14 people signed up from the community to be in the group to lead that. And that's fantastic that we have that much community involvement. Our next meeting will be not in the school because it's temporarily busy. We also had a presentation from the superintendent and principal about the tax ask for the school, and he was able to give a good presentation about that and announce that they had a community meeting as well. So that's about it, I think, for us.
Thanks,
That's a
Rick.
lot, Rick. Yeah.
Anyone else have any updates or anyone else have any comments that they'd like to share before we head out for the evening?
Just want to remind folks to turn in your ballot. May 2nd is the day, so too late to mail it, but you can turn it in at the elections office on Russell Street. So.
Oh, thanks, Emmy. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Emmy. Good reminder.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. 7:41, time for dinner. And let Kyla know if you want commissioners or county staff to come out and speak at any of your council meetings on whatever you want us to talk about. We would
Right.
love to do that. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.